of Allah. There were no others. That made much more sense to me. Even as a child, I could never understand the concept of the Trinity, which was a big thing, especially within the Hispanic thread of Catholicism. That never really made sense to me. And I found when I read the Quran that really it spoke to me. The message of oneness, of discipline, those were things that really spoke to me.
Thank you.
Yes.
Maybe the last question, but I was just wondering if an American or non-Muslim asks you about like different groups of Muslims, like for example, who are the Sunnis and who are the Shias, and you belong to one group, how you respond to their question? I mean, you favor your group and just bash on other group, or?
That's a really, really good question. And this really gets to the heart of our topic today. I'll refer to my own lecture. If you don't know well enough, and you think you may be doing a disservice to your fellow Muslims who may be of a different sect or what have you, I would say, there are differences amongst us. I can speak for my own, inshallah. I can speak for my own, but I really don't feel comfortable speaking about others, and I would just leave it at that. Because if you honestly can't speak very well about it, you're probably going to do more damage than than trying to guess. Trying to guess, I should say, would probably be more hurtful than you saying nothing. And again, it's just being honest. As I said before, if you really don't know, if you can't speak the Shia or Salafi or what have you, a frame of mind from top to bottom, if you really honestly can't do that and do it in a fair and just way, I would say probably being silent on that in a respectful way is probably the best. Yes?
Yes. When we give a Quran to a non-Muslim, it's 600 pages, but what are the chapters that we have to highlight to them that they go to read first, because sometimes they go to the chapter or they read only one verse that hurt them or something like that.
So that's a very interesting question. I think some of our other speakers are going to get into that later on, but let me address that just at least from my perspective. I heard once that information without guidance is very dangerous. In the sense that if you just hand somebody a stack of information, they're going to make, without guiding them, you're gonna cause more damage. If someone wants to build a house and you hand them a chainsaw and you don't explain to them how to use the chainsaw, they're probably going to want to cut it off their hand. Now, in 2010, there I would say is very, very, very few people who have no knowledge of Islam. The information they have is maybe inaccurate or wrong, but they'll have some frame of mind, some idea of Islam, and they'll probably look for that, like, oh, well, it does say kill the infidels, or it does say beat the women. See, it says right here. You can't just hand something like that to somebody. There needs to be a process where you guide them through that. So I think I would say just handing Qurans out willy-nilly is really probably not a very good idea. If you're really trying to educate someone about the deen, really increase their knowledge, it should be like a mentor-student kind of relationship. You're bringing things in a slow and careful and measured way. Because there are some things that will be strange for them maybe, or different for them, and you have to be able to coach that in an effective way. Don't just hand Quran to them. Thank you all for making the time to listen to my lecture. Inshallah, my words will have some interest and use for you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Brother Stephen Hernandez. So inshallah, we can all take some notes, some mental notes from his talk. And he stressed a lot about keeping in mind the commonalities of Islam and other religions and faiths, and educating yourself, having the proper knowledge before you talk. And if you don't know what you're talking about, then remain silent, refer them to someone else, or do some research yourself and then come back. So the next topic we will go into, and a lot of people had a lot of different specific questions and whatnot. Inshallah, this section may help with that. We'll have frequently asked questions to Muslims by Brother Dawood Walid, who is the CAIR Michigan Executive Director. And everyone is pretty familiar with him. So inshallah, I'll introduce him starting right now. So without further ado, Brother Dawood Walid.
السلام عليكم. وعليكم السلام. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين.
وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. وأما بعد. First of all, let me say, as CAIR Michigan Executive Director, it's an honor and a privilege for us to be here with you today, with our brothers and sisters in Islam. And inshallah, may Allah Azza wa Jal make us benefit from the best of these presentations. Also, let me say to Brother Hernandez, Jazakallahu khairan for your presentation, for the information that you gave, and may Allah reward you and continue to bless you. Before I go into my presentation about some of the most frequently asked questions about Muslims in Islam, I would like to add on or elaborate on a few points that actually were discussed in the first presentation, just for further elaboration or clarification purposes in regards to addressing the American psyche, which, as Brother Hernandez very articulately said, there is no one monolithic American mindset. If you were going to a predominantly African-American city like Southfield, Michigan, there would be certain things that you would address differently from people in Southfield than from someone who lives in Taylor, Michigan, whose family members came to Michigan from Kentucky, for instance, dealing with some different backgrounds. First of all, let me say, when we're addressing the broader American public, please avoid overusage of Arabic terms. The average American always already views Islam as something exotic or something strange or something foreign, and you come to them, well, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or our Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam, and jihad fi sabilillah, and I've been to many presentations, even in churches, where people go and give presentations or talking to people, and they're using these terms. They don't understand it, first of all. Second, you're not impressing them. And then third, you're just putting a further gap between us and them. Christians in their Bible, the word Allah is used in the Arabic Bible. Say the word God. I mean, you're not offending Allah Azza wa Jalla. He knows who He is if you want to say God. And I even explained that to audiences. You know, in the Christian Bible, the most used word is Allah. Allah simply means the deity. He is the God, the creator. That's Allah. So just say God. 2, try your best to drop it. I want you all to try to work on dropping this nomenclature from your vocabulary. Non-Muslim. Would you like to be referred to as a non-anything? It's offensive. If you're around someone who's not a Muslim, you say, well, yeah, well, you know, the Muslims and the non-Muslims. You're automatically putting up a partition or a block between you and them. People of other faiths sounds so much better. It's so much more inviting or inclusive than saying, well, you know, we Muslims and you non-Muslims. It's excluding them. It's actually, it can be seen as kind of arrogant. A third thing is, and as Brother Hernandez mentioned in regards to getting into contentious debates normally leads us nowhere. Try to avoid, when discussing Islam, or if someone has a knock against Muslims or Islam, that you want to go back and get into finger pointing about the flaws in American history, especially with white Americans. White Americans are very defensive about that. It's going to put up a wall. And even though we have a black president, many white Americans are uncomfortable talking about the issue of race. It makes them uncomfortable to talk about this country was established upon genocide and ethnic cleansing of Native Americans. It makes them very uncomfortable in regards to almost 400 years of slave trade and slavery of African Americans. It makes them very uncomfortable. So that's not the way to start off a dialogue or discussion. If someone says something problematic about Muslims or about Arabs, and then you want to say, well, you know, you Americans did this, or in American history, such and such, such and such. In regards to the Christmas tree, sister, the Christmas tree is a pagan symbol. If you even were going to a Bible concordance online, you will see even a verse in the Old Testament. According to the current day Torah,